Science Chapter 4, Lesson 4, How do systems transport materials? The digestive system takes in materials needed by the body. It breaks them down into a form that body cells can use. The respiratory system takes in oxygen that cells need and gets rid of carbon dioxide waste that cells produce. Digestive system. Did you eat breakfast this morning? Do you know why it is important to do so? The foods you eat contain important substances that your body needs to grow, repair itself, and carry on other life processes. Your body can't function properly without a constant supply of these substances. When you sleep, your body continues to use those substances, but you aren't replacing those that are used. A good breakfast can restore your body's supply of the materials it needs. After you eat, getting important nutrients to body cells can take some time. Body cells can't use most foods until they are broken down into simpler substances. Organs of the digestive system work together to break down the food in a usable form. Some foods break down during mechanical digestion, the tearing, crushing, and mashing of food. In chemical digestion, chemicals called enzymes help break down food into nutrients. The liver produces bile, which helps digest fat. The liver also stores some nutrients and breaks down harmful substances in the blood. Gallbladder. Bile produced by the liver is stored in the gallbladder until it is released to the small intestine when it is needed. Pancreas. The pancreas produces enzymes that flow into the small intestine. These enzymes and other substances neutralize stomach acid that is mixed with the food that enters the small intestine. Notes. Digestive system helps your body break down food and take the nutrients from the food and use it to supply your body with what it needs. Food is broken down by the body or by mechanical digestion. That's chewing. Enzymes are chemicals that help break food down into nutrients, and food that is broken down and cannot be used to help your body turns into your poop. The process of digestion. Mouth. Mechanical digestion begins in the mouth where teeth shred food. The tongue mixes the food with saliva, which is a mixture of water and enzymes produced by the salivary glands. Saliva begins the process of chemical digestion. It starts the breakdown of starch into simple sugars. Esophagus. After the food becomes soft and moist, the tongue pushes it to the esophagus. Rhythmic contractions of the smooth muscles in the esophagus push the food toward the opening up to the stomach. Stomach. The stomach continues the mechanical digestion by squeezing its contents with muscular contractions. Glands in the stomach produce enzymes and acid that begin the breakdown of proteins. The acid also kills bacteria that have been swallowed with food. After several hours in the stomach, the food has become a soupy mixture. Small intestine. Most digestion takes place in the small intestine. Tiny finger-like projections called villi line the small intestine. Digested food passes into the blood through the walls of the villi. These structures increase the surface area where digested materials can be absorbed into the blood. The villi absorb about 7.5 liters of fluid a day. Large intestine. Materials that cannot be absorbed into the bloodstream pass into the large intestine. Little digestion takes place here. The large intestine absorbs water from the undigested material and stores solid waste until they leave the body. A closer view. Tongue. The large red structure in this electron microscope image of the surface of the tongue are small taste buds. The smaller finger-like projections form a rough surface on the tongue that helps in the chewing and movement of food. Stomach. The oval cells in this electron microscope image of the stomach lining produce mucus that protects the stomach from digestive substances. Pits in the lining contain glands that produce digestive juices. Small intestine. As many as 40 villi per square millimeter cover the surface of the small intestine. There are more at the beginning of the intestine than toward the end. Notes. Here, steps 1 through 5 summarized. You eat with your mouth, you swallow food, the food is taken to the stomach and begins to break down. Digestion takes place in the small intestine. Materials that aren't absorbed for nutrients turn into poop in your large intestines. Circulatory system. As you read, the many villi lining the small intestine contain blood vessels that pick up nutrients and pass them into the blood. These vessels carry the blood and nutrients to cells in all parts of your body. The task of transporting nutrients is done by your circulatory system, which also carries other materials throughout the body. The circulatory system is made up of blood, the heart, and blood vessels. The liquid part of the blood is called plasma. Although plasma is mostly water, many other substances can be found there. Some are nutrients that are picked up from the small intestine. Others are waste products produced by cells. Red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets also float in the plasma. When blood picks up nutrients from the small intestine, the blood is traveling in tiny blood vessels called capillaries. Capillaries are the smallest blood vessels in your body. They're so narrow that red blood cells must travel through them one cell at a time. The capillary walls are very thin, so materials can pass through them. Materials are exchanged between the blood and the capillaries and the cells they pass among. Blood flows from capillaries into larger vessels called veins. Veins carry blood to the heart. Your heart is a muscular organ that is about the size of your fist. It beats about 70 times a minute in adults and a little faster in children and teens. The pumping of your heart moves blood through all parts of your body. Blood travels away from the heart in thick muscular tubes called arteries. As arteries move farther from your heart, they branch and become smaller and smaller until they form capillaries. Blood cells. Red blood cells carry oxygen to your cells. White blood cells attack and destroy bacteria, viruses, and other disease-causing particles. Platelets are pieces of cells formed in bone marrow. When you are cut or bleeding, platelets cause tiny fibers to form in the blood. These fibers cause the blood to clot, which helps stop bleeding. Many capillaries surround each alveolus. Oxygen in the alveolus moves across the alveolus and capillary walls. Their red blood cells pick up the oxygen and carry it throughout the body. Carbon dioxide moves from the capillaries to the alveolus. Notes: the circulatory system is blood, heart, and blood vessels. Capillaries are so small red blood cells flow through one at a time. Veins carry blood back to the heart to get more oxygen. Arteries carry blood away from the heart to deliver oxygen to other cells. And every time your heart beats, it's circulating the blood through your body. Respiratory system. Lungs. Lungs are made of a spongy material that contain many branching tubes, air sacs, and blood vessels. Diaphragm. Lungs do not contain muscle tissue. Air enters your lungs when the muscular diaphragm contracts, pulling your ribs up and out. The diaphragm relaxes when you exhale. Alveoli. Alveoli occurs in bunches. Each alveolus has its own tiny bronchiole that supplies it with oxygen. As cells in your body receive nutrients from the blood, they also need oxygen. Cells use oxygen to release energy from nutrients. In the process, carbon dioxide is produced. This gas is a waste that must be removed from cells. Blood is a substance that delivers the oxygen and removes the carbon dioxide. Blood picks up oxygen and releases carbon dioxide as it travels through your lungs. Your lungs are part of the respiratory system. The respiratory system also includes your nose, trachea, and bronchial tubes. The functions of the respiratory system is to take the oxygen from the air and release carbon dioxide from the body. When you breathe in, air enters your nose. From your nose, air moves to the lungs through the trachea. The trachea branches into bronchial tubes, which continue to branch into smaller and smaller tubes. The smallest of these tubes are called bronchioles. In the lungs, bronchioles end at tiny sacs called alveoli. Capillaries cover the alveoli. In the alveoli, that oxygen enters the blood and carbon dioxide is removed. This gas exchange occurs quickly and at all times. When you breathe out, the carbon dioxide leaves the lungs and exits your body. Notes: cells use oxygen to release energy. Carbon dioxide is produced this way. Blood picks up oxygen from the lungs and releases carbon dioxide when it returns to the lungs. You breathe air into your lungs and it goes into the alveoli, which are tiny sacs at the end of your bronchioles. Capillaries cover the alveoli and oxygen enters through there and carbon dioxide is removed. When you breathe out, the carbon dioxide exits your body. Let's look at your homework. 1. How does the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen take place? We literally just talked about that in the respiratory system. So look at your notes, reread it, and I want you to explain it to me. 2. How do the digestive and circulatory system work together to provide body cells with the materials they need? What do those two systems do? How do they provide each cell with the materials, the nutrients, everything that they need? Explain that to me. And then writing and science. Find out what simple steps everyone can take to keep his or her respiratory system healthy. You can write a radio announcement that informs the public of what you found, or you could just simply write a paragraph. I'm okay with either. You need to research and figure out what can people do to keep their respiratory system healthy. All right, good luck.